Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to Dave's Tech Way, whichever way the situation may be. I've got another build video for you here today. As I go down through the ports, you'll probably recognize a lot of them. Actually, I had a guy contact me about that Tazerac build I did with the Ryzen 5 2400G. He had a few extra $100 to spend and he wanted better graphics performance and he wanted a little bit more bling. And he also needed a case that was a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact because he lives in a dorm room. So if you've seen the Masterbox Q300L review video I did, that's where that case came from. I bought that case, or the customer bought that case for me to put this build into. So we're going to go with that case. We're going to do the Masterbox Q300L. You also have a few extra $100. You want better graphics. So I found a pretty good deal on the RX 580 by XFX, which comes overclocked out of the box. I think that'll do pretty good for what he wanted. He mainly does 1080p gaming, so that was more than enough. He wanted to do a new graphics card compared to used. You know, I told him, you know, if we go used, I can get you better performance with the money, but I couldn't warranty it. He liked the idea of the 3-year warranty they offer on my new PC builds. So he wanted to do the new, so we went with the RX 580. Like I said, I found a pretty good deal on it. And he also heard rumors about the 2400G running warmer than what it should, or hitting the top of the temperature scale. So he wanted to go ahead and do something about that. And because of the Masterbox Q300L case, I couldn't use the Hyper 212. It was too tall to fit into the case. So we ended up going with the Cooler Master Hyper T4 cooler. It's only got 4 heat pipes compared to the 6 that the Hyper 212 does. But like I said, it's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit shorter. It's going to fit in that case where the Hyper 212 won't. And after I did the build and I did the testing on it, it performs quite a bit better than the stock heat sink. And I think it'll do all right for the processor. It's hitting pretty good temperatures. But that ain't why you're here. Today you're here to watch me build a computer and show you how it's done. So let's get into it. Let me get reset up and I'll be right back with the build. Alright y'all, like I said in the intro today, I got another computer build here for you guys today. If you watched the Tazerac build that I did a few months back, pretty well what we're going to do is be upgrading that system. I found someone that wants a system built for 1080p gaming, which a Ryzen 24G ain't quite up to 1080p gaming. So I took the ports out of that Tazerac case to build the customer to build a little bit better system for him. The XFX Radeon RX 580. I actually found that on a pretty good deal for less than $200. That's a pretty good deal on it. We got the Ryzen 5 2400G out of the old system, out of the Tazerac build. I also have the GIGABYTE B450m motherboard, ds3h. We're going to be putting in it, which is out of the other system. We got the 2 sticks of Patriot Viper RAM that we're going to be putting in it. That way it still runs in dual channel. For the storage, we got the 250 gig. I think it's 250 gig. 240 gig SSD for the boot drive, and the 1 terabyte main storage drive. And we got the Corsair CX550 power supply that we're taking out of the other one and putting in it. And he wanted a little bit better cooling solution. We're going to put the Hyper T4 in it, and the case he wanted a little bit smaller case. So we decided to go with this Masterbox Q300L, which is a micro ATX case, which is smaller than that full ATX case. And he wanted to spiff it up a little bit. And to spiff it up, I asked him what color fans he wanted, if he wanted RGB. And he said just something to light up the case, to kind of showcase the ports that's in it. He wasn't really favorable to one color or the other. So we ended up settling on they're just a plain white LED fan from Rosewill. The 120 millimeter case fans. They come in blue, red, or white. Like I said, we went with the white because he wasn't too concerned about the color. He just wanted to light up the ports inside so he could see. So yeah, we're going to be installing them into the case. Some of the tools that you will need. Got a pair of side cuts here. That way I can cut my zip ties when I do my cable management. The main tool you're going to be using is the number 2 Phillips, which if you guys see my other videos, I also use a 6-inch extension bit, especially for the motherboard, to get down around them RAM modulars. And I also got this little bad boy for my, just in case I have to, if I have to, it puts the motherboards in, the motherboard standoffs. And of course I got my utility knife for cutting open any tape and cutting open the boxes. So let me get reset up here, guys, and we'll get started. And we're going to start with prepping the motherboard. I'll be right back. Alright guys, now we're going to do the motherboard, get it ready to be installed. I got the motherboard laying here on top of the motherboard box. I have the RAM here, 2 sticks. Got the CPU, and we have the Cooler Master T4 air cooler right here. We're going to start out with the CPU. Take it out of the clamshell packaging. Yeah, I know I've already used this in the build. I've already built with it once, but I wanted to, yeah, I put it in there to protect them pins while I was doing other things. This little lever right here on the side of the CPU socket. You pull it over to the side and lift it all the way up, which opens the socket. Open up the clamshell packaging. Hold it by the sides whenever possible, that way you don't bend the pins. You want to try to avoid touching the top of this. If you do touch it, it ain't that big of a deal. Just take some rubbing alcohol and clean it off, just like I did with the thermal paste that was used on the stock air cooler. I just took some rubbing alcohol and kept going over it until the Q-tips was clean. You can see the little gold triangle right here in the corner. On the corner of the motherboard right here, there's also a triangle. Line up the triangles, drop it down in. Just like so. Give it a little wiggle. You lower that retention arm. That is your CPU installed. Next we'll do the RAM. Take your RAM modular that has that notch in it. There's a notch in the RAM slot where it sets. We'll make sure you get it set down in there properly. Get started down in there a little bit. Take one thumb on each corner, push it down till it locks, and the other corner till it locks. Second RAM. Do it the same exact way you did the first RAM. Get them started down into the slot. Put one thumb on each corner, push one down till it locks, push the other one down till it locks. Some motherboards only have them locking devices on one corner. In that case, you want to get it lined up right and do both corners at the same time, that way it snaps down in there right. Now for this air cooler, I've never used this air cooler. They sent me a little packet of thermal paste because the air cooler, these aftermarket ones do not come with thermal paste on them. So we're going to have to put the thermal paste on the CPU. I'm going to go ahead, I got other thermal paste since this was provided by them. I'm going to go ahead and use it. I'm hoping it's enough, which I'm sure it is, or they wouldn't have included it. You put it down on the CPU. Some people say leave it like that and let the heat spreader do the spreading of it. I don't agree with this. I know there's a lot of thoughts on this, but I like to spread mine out if you've seen any of my other videos. So I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape and I'm going to put it on the end of my finger, unroll it a whole turn, make sure you get a clean piece. That's trash. Then you want to get a piece here, pull you off, chunk. Don't need to be much. Try not to touch the top of it if possible, which I done did, but it'll be alright, I think. Then I just take it and make sure my CPU is completely covered with it. And that thermal paste is stronger than what the tape is. But you just spread it around there. You want a nice thin layer. You know, you can do the pea size drop like some of the guys do, or you can spread it whichever way you feel comfortable. Me, I like to make sure my CPU is completely covered. That's why I spread it. You do the pea size or the rice grain size, thermal paste in the middle and let the heat spreader do it. You're not sure if you're getting complete coverage or not. This way I know my CPU is completely covered. Alright, now since we've got the thermal paste on there, these aftermarket CPU coolers, look at the bottom, it says right there, please peel off label before you use. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull it off. Alright, just like so. And we're going to pull this here fan out of here. And this is what I said earlier, I really don't care for this fan. If I knew the way this fan was going to connect, I would have ordered it. You got your little bracket here, just like the old AM2, AM3. Slide it in here, which this ain't my problem with the cooler. It really ain't, guys. The Hyper 212, to install it, we end up setting this way, which is what I like. You know, I like to have all my airflow going one way. With this one, you have no option to do that. You have to either put it this way to where the fan is blowing the heat up, or put it this way where the fan's going to be blowing your heat onto your graphics card. I don't like neither one of them options really, but I've already got it, so I'm going to use it. Gonna line it up. Set your CPU cooler down under where she belongs. Take the one side and latch it. Take the other side. You may take a little bit of force to get this to latch. There we go. That time it clicked. Make sure it's lined up correctly on the CPU. And you take the latch and twist it around. It turned out pretty good, I do have to admit. After all that fighting. And the other thing I don't like about it is if you noticed how close it is to my RAM sticks. It's awful close to the RAM sticks, and that's the farthest set of sticks away from the CPU. You know, so if you want to upgrade your memory, you ain't gonna be able to use them other two sticks because this inner stick is blocked. You can't get into it. I'm gonna run the cable fan for the fan cable underneath over here. Try to hide it some. And here's your fan cable. It's got 4 pins on it. And here's your CPU fan header on the motherboard. It's got these little notches right here. You just line up the notches on it. They're both 4 pin. And you slide them down over top of it. Just like so. But that's the prepping of the motherboard, guys. I'll be right back, and we'll see what we're going to do next with the system. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to need to add at least 4 more standoffs. Okay, like we always do, I'm going to test it, see which holes need filled in, which should be the most outer ones in this case, which they are marked, but I can't really tell the writing on them. So I'm going to kind of guess at them. I'm going to take my little ratcheting driver here, and I'm going to tighten these down some, the ones that I installed. The ones that's pre-installed should be tight enough. You can always check them if you want to. And now since they're tightened down, I want to check them again, just to make sure of it. I don't want the guy saying, hey, my motherboard's moving around when I moved my case, now I destroyed everything. I want to make sure everything's kosher with the system. Make sure I don't have none where they ain't supposed to be. That's the biggest deal with these standoff, guys. You want to make sure that there's none where they ain't supposed to be. Alright, so now we got all our standoffs in place. Now we're going to get in the baggie of goodies that they gave us here. Should go pretty easy for me this time, I'm hoping. Start off here in the middle. You can start out anywhere you want to. You want to get them started. You don't want to tighten them down all the way. Well, you know what? I'm showing you how to put a computer together, and I just about made the #1 error of most beginner builders. Let me get this screw back out of here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Pull the motherboard back up out. And that's why I just about forgot it, because I didn't have it in view. Forgot the I/O shield. Okay, this is your I/O shield. It goes in the back of the case around your ports that come through your motherboard. Okay, like I showed you on the case, right back here is the slip for it. Make sure your audio ports are facing towards the bottom of the case in most cases. Haha, case inside of a case, get it? Yeah, I know, I'm ignorant. But anyways, you get it lined up here. It should just snap in spot once you get it lined up right. There we go. There we go. You hear it snapping? That means it's being seated in all the way. There's no screws to hold it in. Just friction fit and them little clamps. And there ting ting tings you was hearing. That's what holds it in. Make sure it's in all the way around. Okay, there we go. See, even after years of doing this, guys, sometimes you get in a little bit of a rush or something and you forget some of this simple stuff. All right, now let's go back to the motherboard. With that being put in, you need to put the motherboard on at a little bit of an angle. Line up your ports, just like so, and set it down in there. Okay, and then once you get a screw started, like I done did once, but we're going to redo it because I forgot the I/O shield. Get it down in there, just enough to hold the motherboard in place. Then we're going to flip it back up here, and we're going to look at these ports back here. See these little grinding straps? You want to make sure none of them's in the ports to block off the port where you can still use it. That looks pretty good. The audio's sticking all the way through like it should. I don't see no grinding straps in any of the ports. Looking pretty good. I think we are safe to move on. Okay, so now we got 5 more screws to put in this motherboard to hold it down. And like I said, you don't have to start out with that middle one. I like the middle one. It's centrally located, and it'll hold the board in place for you. But you don't have to start out there. You can start out in any of the holes. And like I said, you don't want to tighten them down at the beginning. Let's get them started. You know, a few turns is all you really need. There we go. Then I'm gonna go around and hit the rest of them. Tighten them down the rest of the way. Make sure they're good and snug. And again, guys, you don't want these extremely tight. You're just holding the motherboard in place. There ain't gonna be much pressure on the motherboard, so. There we go. Just like so. All right, guys. Now since we've got the motherboard installed, now we're gonna be trying to figure out how these guys want us to do the PSU in this thing, the power supply. Let's get started here. First of all, with this case, you have to take this bracket out of the inside of it. Now, a lot of the cases do this, but the brackets are usually on the outside. This one here's got an extra bracket on the inside for some reason. And I don't understand why. I don't know why the Cooler Master decided to do this with this case. But it is what it is, and we have to try to figure it out. Now let's get this bracket pulled out of the inside over here. Put them screws over there. Don't want to mix them up with my power supply screws. And here's the bracket that they sent you. And it goes this way. And of course, when you do your power supply, guys, if you see my other videos, or most people, you know, you got a fan, 120mm fan on your power supply. You can put it up or down either way. I prefer, especially since this has got ventilation on the bottom, I want my power supply going down. That way it ain't sucking in the hot air from the GPU. Let's see how this bracket goes on here. Now, I don't like this for the simple fact that it's going to kick the power supply back into the case. And if you ever have to change out the power supply, you know, it's an extra step you got to do by pulling the bracket off and then pulling your power supply out. Line up your bracket with your screw holes. Make sure you don't go into the vent holes. Make sure it's the ones that's threaded. Just get one started. That way you can move it around. That way you can wiggle it around to get all your holes lined up. And it don't matter which order you do these in. And you don't have to get these screws extremely tight, but you want them snug. You don't want them shearing off when you go to move the computer or anything like that. But right now I'm just going around and just kind of getting them started. Since that's the last one, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this one down all the way to the torque that I'd like to have them. And then I'm gonna go around and hit the other ones, tighten them down the rest of the way. All right, now since we got that done, most of the power supplies, in most cases, they just slide in from the back. This one you got to take in from the inside because of that bracket that we had to put the PSU in. Now we got 4 more screws we got to put into it. And I'm going to do these the same way. I'm going to get all 4 of them just kind of started, kind of snugged in there. That way if I have to move it any way, shape, or form, you know, I can. Since that's the last of the 4, I'm going to go ahead and tighten that one down. And then I'm going to just go back and snug the other ones down. I put about the same torque on these that I did for the ones that's holding power supply in. About wrist tight. You don't want them extremely tight. Alright guys, and that is the PSU installed into this case. Alright guys, since we got the power supply and the motherboard installed, we're going to go ahead and do the hard drive and the solid state drive. You take this thumb screw out right here. That releases the plate for the hard drive. Pull it up. Take your hard drive, that's the way the plate goes. You want your cables facing, the ends of it to be facing towards the holes in the case where you can run your cables. Flip it over. Line up your holes here, get your screws started. And just like everything else that I do, I never tighten them down just in case I need to wiggle it around a little bit. Just want to get them started for right now. Now since this is the last of the 4 screws that need started, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten it down. Then you take these 2 little prongs here on the plate. Alright, here's 2 little prongs, slides down these little holes. Just like so. Push it down in, put your thumb drive back in it. Alright guys, now since we got the hard drive installed, we're going to do the solid state drive. In the bag of the goodies that came with the case, you'll have 8 of these little rubber bushings. Looks like this. And you have 8 of these little shoulder screws. See how there's only thread so much so far up them? That's how you know you got the right ones. And they just slide together like this. I'm going to try my best to get you the best view of this. This is kind of a little complicated in this case, it looks like. The solid state drive here. The solid state drive goes right, you want it right back here, that way you can keep your cable management as clean as possible. Now you want your connectors as close as you can. I'd prefer to have it like this, but this case don't give you the option for that. You have to put it this way. And knowing me, I'm probably doing this a harder way than what it's supposed to be. It's probably supposed to be a lot easier than this. Maybe for the first one, I should do it this way. I went ahead and got my 6-inch extension bit to make this a little bit easier on me. I'm hoping it does. Okay, since they're all started, should be able to slide it over. There we go. Slide it over into the spot. And tighten them down some. I think I definitely did this the harder way than what it should have been done. Alright, like I said, right there's the 8-pin connector for the CPU power. There it is. There's the cable off the power supply. You got the little clip. You don't think you can really see it, but where it connects into's got a little clip. You line up the clips. spin your connector around however possible. It should only fit one way. And this is the fun of my mini ITX builds, guys. You go in these small cases like this, it makes everything a lot tighter and a lot harder. There we go. It's on there. Can I get it clipped? Next one to do is the 24 pin. It's the biggest connector on the power supply. Just like the 8 pin, it's got clips on it. It's got a little ridge on the end of the connector. It only goes one way. This should be a lot easier because there's a lot more room out here. Sometimes with these, you have to support the motherboard with your fingers when you push them down on. Just like so, give her a little tug. She's on there. She ain't coming off no time soon. USB 3 cable here. This is connected to the case, not the power supply. Right here's your USB 3 port. It's got a little notch in the top of it. You got a little piece of plastic that sticks down on the connector itself. Just line them up, push them down on there, just like so. And she's on there. There's your HD audio port on your motherboard. Here's your HD audio off your front case. That's for your headphone and microphone input and output. They line up only one way because there's a notch missing. There's a pin missing. You want to get a little bit extra cable there. If I can get this thing flipped around. Line up the pins, slide it down on there just like so. Now we don't have USB 2 on this case. It's only got 2 USB 3s on the front, which is powered by one cable. All right, guys, we're going to do the SATA cables for the data transfer for the hard drives. I've got 2 different cables here. They're actually the same. Just got 2 straight ends on both sides. We're going to connect one to port 0, and we're going to connect one to port 1. The one for port 1, I want to go to the hard drive, and 0, I want it to go to the solid state drive, which that really don't matter, but it just makes it a little bit easier on the operating system to give it the correct drive letter that I want. Alright guys, now back here on the back, the same exact thing. It's got the L with the clip on it. Here's the connector for it on the back of the hard drive right here where my finger's at. It only goes in one way because of that L. Just take it and push it on there. Now there's your data, but that don't mean that drive's ready because you still have to do the power. And you got the same thing here for the SSD, which is, I can't get you a good view of it. But it's right there. There you go. That's your SATA data cable hooked up. Alright guys, now we're going to hook up the SATA power from the back of the power supply into the drives. You can see right here, I don't know how good you can actually see that on tape, but that's the power connector for the SATA power. You got the SATA power here from your power supply. You got that L shape just like you got for the SATA data transfer cables. You line it up there, they only go one way because of the L's on them. And you slip them down on there. And I used the one with the 3 on it. That way I could run both drives off the same cable. And the solid state is the same exact thing as the hard drive. Just like so. Next is going to be the graphics card. Instead of just upgrading the case on this system, he wants to play 1080p gaming. So we went with the XFX 580 card, which should be able to handle, it's the 8 gig model. It should be able to handle any game you throw at it at 1080p for right now, as making this video anyways, which is January of 2019. If you're watching in the future, this card may be obsolete and unable to run 1080p, depending on what the game developers decide to do. Let's take all this fancy plastic off. How do you install a graphics card? This right here is your by 16 slot. PCI Express 16x4 slot right here. I know I still have the protective covering on the fingers yet. Slide it down in here and line it up. I'm doing this to see which of these back supports I need to take out for the graphics card. Which it's going to be the second and the third one down that's going to need to come out. And in this case especially, which I don't like these designs, you got this little screw right here you got to take out for this plate, which I don't mind these plates. These plates ain't too awful bad. Okay, you slide this up out. Now what I don't like is these things. These is breakaway. Because the ones that break away, once you break them out, you ain't gonna be able to replace them. If you ever decide to swap out your graphics card, or you don't need to use these two spots or whatever in the future, if you want to use integrated graphics, you're going to have to buy replacement plates for these to fill these holes back in. Okay, so I don't care for these ones that have the breakaways. Alright guys, now since we got the plates broken off, you remove this little plastic cover over these golden fingers here. Make sure your clip back here, this clip for the graphics card, make sure it's in the open position or back. Slide your graphics card down in, just like so. Make sure that slot's lined up. Give it a little push and you can hear it click in. Now it's in there pretty good. Which this case didn't send me enough screws for this, so I had to get my personal stash because I work on computers all the time, so I got them. I had to get a couple screws so I could actually tighten down the graphics card here, back here in this back bracket. Which these are silver screws on a black case, which ain't gonna matter because you got that little cover that's gonna cover them up. That and the bracket itself was silver, so there's that as well. And you put the two screws in there in that back bracket to hold it down. And again, just, you know, wrist tight. You don't need them extremely tight. We'll go ahead and put this little bracket back on here to cover up them gray screws. You got your PCIe Express cable for your graphics card. This has only got an 8-pin connector on it. This is a 6 plus 2. You have to make sure your 2 is connected to the 4-pin, or the 6-pin, I'm sorry. You got the clip. There should be a clip on the edge of the connector. You hold them and pinch them together. You slide them down on, you hear it click, it's good and tight. Got it hooked up here, got it hooked up to the monitor so you can tell. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's already an operating system on this. These are the parts out of the Tazerac case, so it should be right into Windows. Let's push the button to see what happens with it. The motherboard is detecting new hardware apparently. Should be booting back up here. There we go. Two front fans are spinning, back fan is spinning, CPU fan spinning. Front graphics card fan spinning, which it won't spin unless it needs to. But yeah guys, I'd say it's a successful boot. We got Windows booted up here on the monitor for you. I did go ahead and do the cable management and whatnot. I ain't gonna lie to you, I did boot it up before I did the cable management, so I knew it was gonna boot on camera. But it ended up being a pretty nice little build with the white LEDs. I think it looks pretty good. It'll be tinted some because the side panel is going to have some tint to it. Here's what I did as far as cable management goes. If you're going to buy this case, I'd go with a modular or semi-modular power supply. As you can tell right here, there's a bunch of cables right here. But the side panel should fit. I may need to push them down a little bit, but it should go on pretty nicely. As far as that back GPU bracket goes, let me get it turned around here. How I had them two silver bolts on it. I did go ahead and switch them out. I put a couple black ones back there to make it all match, make it all nice and pretty. And that's the customer cares about the way it looks, so I'm going to care about the way it looks. That's why he went with the white LEDs, you know, show off the components inside. He didn't want the colors of RGB. But yeah, guys, that's the build that I did in the Cooler Master Q300L case. The cable management's pretty nice in the back of this case, you know, because they do give you enough room for that hard drive, so you got, you know, it gives you a good bit of room back there for cable management. But I hope you enjoyed the build video that I did on it. I'm still not happy with that air cooler, but there ain't nothing I can do with that. I mean, it is what it is. I should have did a little bit more research on it before purchasing that. The Hyper 212 actually sits the other way to where the fan blows the heat out the back, which it should be, instead of up through the top. I don't know, maybe I'll talk to the customer, maybe they'll want that fan put to the top, that way it's all pulling up through the top. But that'll be up to the customer. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed the build. I hope the video didn't end up too long. I'm gonna probably include some of my mess ups. I mean, you know, it's nice to see that everything goes smoothly, but it don't always go smoothly when you build a computer. So I think I'm going to leave some of my mess ups in there and show you some of the trials and tribulations that I have with this case. And you know, even after doing it for years, you know, you're going to make mistakes. But you know, if you know, I do these videos to show y'all. I mean, if I can build a computer, anybody can build a computer, guys. You know, that's why I do the videos, to show you that you can do your own builds. But if you still don't feel comfortable and you'd like to have me build a PC for you, go under the About Me page. There's a link for my email. Send me an email. We can set something up. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see more of my videos when they come out, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That way you get notified next time I put out a video. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. There's that comment section down there, be it good or be it bad. You know, don't be afraid to use that comment section on me. Let me know what you think I'm doing wrong, what you think I could improve on. But with that being said, y'all have a good day, and hopefully you'll see me in my next video.